All right, starting the second video, you'll see on the screen in front of you where we're at currently. And as I was just talking about, we're going to create 3 circles around this design. Oh, my mouse has disappeared. There we go. So they're going to be equally spaced. And we have a tool that will help us do that. But we need to draw the original circles first. Let me flip over. I'm going to show you what this sketch is going to look like when we're finished. All right, so this is our circle, which has a diameter of 45 millimeters. This would be the inner circle. We got rid of, eventually, we'll get rid of that circle, that outer circle. And here we have a 12 millimeter diameter circle with a 5.62 millimeter circle inside of it, with 2 more of them down here. Those are equally spaced around this 45 millimeter circle. So let's get to it and go ahead and duplicate this design. All right, so I'm going back to my center diameter circle tool. I can go create circle, center diameter circle. You see I've got 5 different circle tools. That's why I refer to it as the center diameter circle. That's what we're using here. And I'm going to click on the center diameter circle, and I wanted this outer circle represents the midpoint. Okay, so notice when I'm on the circle with my mouse cursor, it gives me that blue X. Now I'm going to try and start right there at the top, click. I'm going to draw my first circle, 12 millimeters, and there we are. Now, if I zoom in, I'm not actually on that green line. The origin, where I started my design, here is on that axis. This is the y-axis. Is that the x-axis? X. Okay, so that circle's not actually placed in the right spot. It needs to be on that axis. Well, the pointer, the tool, will keep me on that circle, okay, as I move left and right, but it will not match up at that point to the axis. So I'm going to need to position the center of that circle in the right spot. And the center of that circle, this one, needs to be horizontal to this one, right? Straight up that axis. So I'm going to use what's called a constraint. A constraint creates a relationship between 2 items in your sketch. And I have a horizontal vertical constraint. So if I can create a relationship between the center point of this circle and the origin, which is the center point of this circle, and make that horizontal, it will place that top, the smaller circle, in the correct position. Let's do that. So I'm going to open my constraint. I go constraints, horizontal, vertical. I have shortcuts up here in my toolbar. I'm clicking on the constraint. I'm going to click on the midpoint, the origin of the lower circle, and I'm going to click on the midpoint of this upper circle. Notice I get constraint, and if I zoom in now, it's been moved to where now it's on the green line, okay, on that axis. I'm going to escape out of the constraint tool, but it's also giving me these symbols showing that the constraint exists, okay? You do not have a constraint if those symbols don't exist. And as you look at your constraints up here, the various ones, those are all the symbols that would be associated with it. We'll get into those more later in class, but you don't always have to position things as you are drawing them out. You have tools available that let you just kind of place something somewhere and use those tools to create the relationship between one object and another, and those are referred to as constraints. That's your introduction to constraints. All right, I have a second circle that I need to place in, and that is, if I remember right, 5.62. Yep, 5.62. How did I get to 5.62? I go to my diagram. Oh, where'd my diagram go? I'll get that back up in a second. My diagram would show that the radius of that circle is 2.81 millimeters. So that converts to a diameter of 5.62. If you don't know how I calculated that, you need to go look it up because I've already mentioned it. There we are. Okay, so, and what we're doing now, as I pointed out, we've drawn our two circles. We need to add the two additional ones, and they need to be equally spaced around this circle here. All right, and how, well, actually, either circle would be the same because do the math. All right, now my view of my project isn't exactly what I want, so I can move this around on the canvas by using the hand tool, the pan tool here. So if I click on this, I can take it, click and drag and move it up, hit the escape key to get out of the pan tool. And now you can see my project a little better. So I have two circles here that need to be duplicated around the circle. I'm going to, in my create menu, go create, and I'm going to create a circular pattern. So I click on circular pattern. The objects I want to pattern are this circle and this circle. So I've clicked on them. The center point, I need to identify the center point. Well, it's going to be the origin. All right, there we are. And it projects out two additional circles. I can change the number. If I needed 4, I can increase the quantity. I want 3. It just happens to start at 3, and 3 is what I need. But I can change the quantity. I can make it 6 if I needed to. And it projects out the circles. Let's go back to 3. And when, yes, this is exactly what I wanted, so I will click OK. And there are my additional circles. All right, let's clean this sketch up a little bit. This circle was simply created to give me the center point, or the distance from the center point to the center point of my smaller circle to establish that distance. This circle is not actually going to be part of my design. Now, what I would have probably done originally, looking back on it, is I would have created a construction circle, which means I could have left this and not had to delete it. A construction circle is created by, here in my sketch palette, line type, I could change it to construction. So if I clicked on this and came over here, oh, construction, clicked on construction, the line becomes dotted, okay? That means it is a construction line. It is there for a measurement or informational purposes only and not part of my design. Oh. If I did not change it to construction, I would have to delete it, would be the most appropriate thing. But I'm going to leave it as construction so you can see it and understand how I got to that distance, what the distance is, and it's information on that. All right, now I still have some excess stuff that I don't need in my design. If I look here, I want to make this one solid object. Okay, when I click on it, see how it becomes blue as one solid object. If I go here and click, or here, they're broken up. So how am I going to, I need to get rid of this and this, here and here. How am I going to do that? I'm going to use the trim tool. There's the trim tool under modify, trim. Okay, it's represented by the icon of the scissors. And I'm going to get rid of these objects here and here. I've activated the trim tool. You see how it's highlighted with blue around the tool there, the icon. Remember what I said, Simon, it's unfortunate, or earlier in the course, it's unfortunate that it's done in blue because typically I give a 10-point deduction for assignments done in blue. That's a Louisville, Kentucky thing. So I'm going to get rid of these two. There and there. I'm going to escape out of the trim tool. And now when I click on my design, the entire shape turns blue. It is one continuous object. Now, how my sketch is done. I have the geometry of my design. And what I want to do is finish my sketch, and I'm going to extrude this object. Extrude means I'm going to add depth to it. I'm going to make it three-dimensional. My two-dimensional drawing sketch is complete. My finished sketch. Go to the home position. This is my view cube. Notice it tells me I'm looking at it from the top. Didn't cover much of that when I started the sketch, and I should have, about the perspective that I've started my sketch from. When I look at the design that we had, this is the bottom and top. So we decided, or I decided, I guess, that I'm starting at the bottom with my design. I'm going to work up. So my sketch was on the top bottom plane. Really, I missed something there and breezed over that. Should have covered that in much more depth. So I started my sketch on the top bottom plane, have three planes to work with. The top bottom, left, right, front, back. Okay? We'll get into that more as we go through class, and I apologize for breezing over it like I did. So it shows me that I'm looking at this from the top. I'm going to go back to the home position. There I am. I have my create menu. I can extrude. I have a shortcut right here, extrude. Okay, so I'm going to click on my shortcut, extrude. I only have one design on my in my design at this point in time, so that one design is now highlighted. It assumes that's what I want to work with, and I'm going to extrude it 3 millimeters. We're going to work with extrude a lot, and we're going to use it several more times in this project, and we'll do some different things with it. I'm going to create a new body from my extrusion. This is the base. And like I said, it's going to go up 3 millimeters. Everything looks good in my extrude palette. I have an arrow here that I can move it up and down. Okay, you see that? I want to be precise. Concept we'll work a lot with. So the precision or precise way of doing it is I'm going to enter an exact value in the distance box here, and I'm going to click OK. And there's the base of my design, or a very good start on the base. About out of time on this video, so we'll move on to video 3 from here.